Welcome to Brothers-In-Flaw Sports. I'm your host, Normie. We have our other host over here with Cunyato. And down below, as always, we have, what's your new name now?
Lance Tanner.
Lance Tanner. All right. Could this be a little precursor to what's coming next?
It's embrace is what it is.
All right. Well, we're going to do a draft recap. We figured we'd go by teams. The first three teams we're going to do are teams. So we're going to start with the 49ers, move on to the Rams, and then the Falcons. So let me move this, share screen, and boom. Let's get our pretty faces on there as well. So let's start off with San Francisco, and that is Lance Tanner's team. So overall, what do you think?
Overall, I don't really know how I feel overall. Trey Lance was exciting. Like I said before, I would have been happy with any of the guys that we could have picked there, but to go ahead and pull the trigger on Trey Lance, who I thought had the most potential going forward, that was exciting. I would have been fine with anybody, but to pull the trigger on Lance, that was very exciting. But then going back down through the list, like there's a bunch of these guys that I don't really know a whole lot about. Aaron Banks at Notre Dame, like I was expecting to take interior line help. Wasn't really expecting to take it so early. But apparently he had a great year at Notre Dame. Everything that I've read about him, though, talks about his lack of athleticism. And in the outside zone scheme in San Francisco, a lot of the experts are saying he doesn't seem like a great fit. I don't know, haven't watched the kid play. But, interior line help is interior line help. And then I love the Trey Sermon pick. Everybody saw what Trey Sermon did. The two backs that we brought back this year are only on 1-year contracts, so who knows what we'll be getting. Both are functional as short yardage guys, but I don't really think as much as Trey Sermon could be, so that may have been Shanahan's thought there. Needed corner help. Corner I wanted in the second round. Before we traded up to the third pick, I definitely wanted it at 12. So to get Ambry Thomas from Michigan, press man guy, longer guy. Again, don't really know much about him. Didn't pay much attention to Michigan's defensive backs, but for the first half of the draft, I was really excited with just the positions we were taking.
Alrighty. I know that Trey Lance pick.
Okay, let's cut through the bullshit here.
Okay. All right. My feeling on it, if you're going to go that kind of quarterback, why not go with the proven thing who proved himself in the Power 5 football with Justin Fields? Like, is there something they're seeing that we're not?
Hold on. Normie, that is not even one little bit the direction I thought you were going to go after saying proving himself in the Power 5, especially with your collegiate ties. That's way out of left field, but
well, that's what I'm my thing on it. If you're going to go with a runner and more athletic guy, why not go with Justin Fields?
I think what happened was Shanahan ended up being sold after talking to the kid. It seems like he and Mac were credited as being the smartest guys in the class. And then you watch him at North Dakota State. He has full autonomy over the offense, changing plays, getting them into runs or passes, depending on what is necessary. So I think Shanahan fell in love with that. And I've been pulling my hair out over reports over this whole thing because through the whole thing, it's going to be Mac. It's going to be Mac. Maybe it's Justin Fields. Nah, it's going to be Mac. Then back to Justin Fields a little. Then Mac or Trey Lance. By the end of it, we take Trey Lance. And everybody's saying there was more secrecy around that pick than like anybody's ever heard of. So when they finally pulled the trigger, everybody's like, "Oh, they fooled us all." Shanahan's like, "This is the guy we wanted since January, even before we made the pick or made the trade for the pick. This is the guy we wanted." Of course they're going to say that, but I think, but he said that he sent the tape to Lynch back in January. So I think that he definitely was intrigued by Lance initially, at least.
All right. I mean, I don't know. I look at it as a pretty ballsy move.
I think so too, but I've fallen more in love with the pick. And I told you when we did the mock draft that I wanted Justin Fields. That's the guy that I wanted for exactly what you're saying. He's more proven. If you want the athlete, they both have killer arm talent. I think everybody does. I mean, really, Mac probably was the weakest arm talent there, and still throws a great deep ball. So I mean, I think that we got. I agree with you. I think that we could have gone Justin Fields and gotten something similar in physical talent. But I think that him playing in the offense, the style of offense that he did, him being able to get himself in and out of plays, and just talking X's and O's with Shanahan, I'm sure that that's what pushed him over the edge to be the first pick or their pick.
I will say, in a real pro to Trey Lance is there's still a lot of tread on that tire.
Oh yeah, he's 20 years old. He's a baby.
I mean, he's 20 years old. I mean, we saw Justin Fields have that injury in the playoff game in the semifinals. So, and he looked a little shaky in the finals, but looking at Trey Lance, I mean, there's still a lot there.
We threw one interception to 30 touchdowns in his last year versus the one game that he played this year. I think that there's a lot of positive to take away. And then just listening to him talk, I know that like being extremely kind individual is not necessarily what you want in a football player all the time, but he seems like a really good kid. One little weird little thing that I picked up on after he got off the plane in San Francisco, he kind of like glanced over his shoulder, just happened to see the pilot standing there. He was already like 4 or 5 steps ahead, turned around, went back and shook the pilot's hand. Does that mean anything? No, but I like to see it, you know?
Yeah. All right, Cunyato, what were you thinking that I was going to go?
Well, I definitely thought you were going to say, why not Mac Jones as far as the proven guy in Power 5, and really not just the Power 5. Let's be honest. I'm not trying to have a regional bias for this show here. College football starts with the SEC, and then it's everybody else. Don't get me wrong, Clemson and Ohio State and kind of Oklahoma definitely get in that mix. They're better than generally the next best that's not Alabama in the SEC, but and then with your Alabama ties, I thought you were going to say Mac Jones, but I'm proud of you. That's real growth.
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, that is definitely not the style of player Mac Jones is. So if you were going with that style of player, the Justin Fields would have been my thing. But these guys make the big bucks, and we'll see how it plays out. I mean, that's
the thing is, and then a lot of the Mac Jones, people saying that might be what San Fran, where they went, made a lot of sense because Shanahan has had success with guys like Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan and
Matt Shaw.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, more of your, less athletic, more pocket presence, statuesque, game managers with arm talent.
The guys that look like they're running in mud.
There you go. But I think it's a really good pick overall, though. I mean, it's like you guys were saying. I mean, it's a ballsy move. I mean, it's either going to pay off huge or be a complete waste of resource. I mean, that's picking literally any quarterback once you start jumping up there to do that. I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, case in point, Mitchell Trubisky. That the Bears gambled on that because of all of his athleticism and intangibles or whatever. And, well, we can see what they did in this year's draft that said whoopsie. And then, you've got guys like Patrick Mahomes also got traded up to go get him, sat for a year, which I think is going to be the case for Trey Lance. I don't think that the Niners are going to try and dump Garoppolo. I think Lance is going to get maybe a full year or at least close to. He's going to get at least some game time, in my opinion, sitting behind Garoppolo, because Garoppolo is not a bad quarterback. If he's healthy, Garoppolo has taken them to the Super Bowl, just the Super Bowl for this previous one, and puts up above average to borderline elite stats. And the only times where he doesn't put up really good stats is because the run game works so well. Which also, as far as the Niners draft goes, I think Trey Sermon was a huge land. I think it's going to pay off in spades for them. And they already have running, no matter who it is running behind Shanahan scheme and that really solid offensive line that you guys have, Lance, Tana, they're all successful. Like, they are all good. Since Shanahan's gotten there, they are consistently a top 2 or 3 rushing attack in the league. And I think Trey Sermon, I mean, he could be the potential star from the draft. Like, we might not even be talking about Trey Lance come the end of this 2021 season.
Well, we took Frank Gore in the 3rd round, and that worked out well for us. And I could see something like that working out. We also took Elijah Mitchell from Louisiana with our last pick in the 6th, which I don't know anything about him. I mean, I watched a little bit of Louisiana this year, and his highlights were great. So we had gone from not drafting or only drafting 1 running back in the draft since Shanahan's been there to drafting 2 in this one. And that's what I was saying earlier, that the 2 guys that we re-signed this year, Jeff Wilson and Speedy, they're on 1-year contracts. So what they do after this year, I think that was more of a planning for the future in both those picks.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, Trey Sermon might not see that much time. You guys have pretty much had a stable of guys who can get the job done since Shanahan's been there. But Trey Sermon really started to wow me. I mean, obviously, I think he wowed the whole nation at the end of the year. Him going down in the national championship, I don't think that it would have changed the game by any means. I mean, one team just looked way better than the other. But I do think that he was a bit of an underrated talent. And he's kind of Derrick Henry-esque in that he seems to get stronger as the game goes on.
Well, and as the run goes on, like not even just the entire game, but as the carry goes on, the juggernaut effect, very much like Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except for he creates his own space. He's much better at creating his own space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know how you feel on that sense. If I had to rank y'all's or rate y'all's draft, scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a solid 9. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think you guys feel the knock would be, you guys have kind of needed a defensive back help and waiting a little bit late on that, but taking best available and then filling that slot in the 4th with Ambry, Thomas.
Well, and like I said, I don't know much about all the guys that we drafted, but just looking at position, you go guard in the 2nd and tackle in the 5th. So we needed depth at the offensive line positions. Got it. Drafted 2 corners, 1 safety that should be around the line of scrimmage guy that should play around the Tart position, the Jaquiski Tart position, and then 2 running backs. So it's a lot of and then you take the star of the draft in Lance. So I think that it's 9. Just to take my bias out of it, probably more like an 8, just because I don't know much about each position or each player. I just like all the positions that they took.
No, I think you guys did a really good job, and I'm really excited. I mean, just doing my research to get ready for this show, just breaking down teams. There's just a handful of teams where I was like, "What the hell?" I mean, for the most part, like, man, that was really good. That was really good. But obviously, I think San Fran would be closer to that top half of like, man, that was A-okay.
I think so. I'm glad that you said that, because I thought the same thing while we were watching it that whole weekend. I thought, damn, most of the teams were doing a really good job of filling needs and stacking talent. And there's only a few teams. The Rams come to mind that just didn't really blow me away with their selections.
All right, if that's how we want to transition to this one, I am pumped about what the Rams did. Absolutely psyched.
So they're still in St. Louis, right?
You know what? I'm just gonna sign off, guys.
All right, we'll move on to the Rams. Good job. The Los Angeles Rams.
So I know we didn't have a 1st-round pick because we wanted Matt Stafford, and I'm not 100% sure we'll ever have a 1st-round pick again in my lifetime, which I am A-okay with, because the last time we traded the house for a 1st-round pick, we got Jared Goff, and he was just fine. Number 1 overall pick, and he will not even scratch the surface of Hall of Fame. Matt Stafford, I don't know. He gets to rebuild his career here, or not maybe rebuild, but solidify his his legacy, whether he was an above average quarterback that was surrounded by bad talent, or if he's just an average quarterback. Because even with Jared Goff, who I'm pretty sure we can all just kind of agree is just an average quarterback, Sean McVay has been to the playoffs every year since he's been there and had a winning record since he's been there. No, I'm sorry, we missed 1 year, 2 years ago. But with all that said, yeah, so we traded everything away. Second round, I kind of thought that we might steer away from wide receiver because we went and got Deshaun Jackson, and then Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are both excellent possession guys. I mean, they're not going to take the top off of the defense. That's why you go get Deshaun Jackson. That's exactly what he does. And then you've got your three right there, and you've got some solid backups with Van Jefferson. I think we got rid of Reynolds, or didn't keep him on. Anyways, I thought we might steer towards inside linebacker. We needed a lot of help at. There's a lot of position of need, but we went 2-2 Atwell, and he's exciting. He's incredibly exciting. He's very small, but he's very fast.
Wow.
He's got really good hands. He's a playmaker, and I don't know if he'll be a Brandon Cooks level guy or even a Deshaun Jackson level guy, like any of those guys who like their job is to play make. And I don't think he's going to be as well rounded as a Deshaun Jackson or a Tyreek Hill, where they are playmakers first, but they kind of do everything else very well. I don't know, but he's exciting, and I was really happy with that pick. And then we went ahead and did do the inside linebacker with Ernest Jones. I don't know. I mean, he can't be much. He can't hardly be less productive than what we've had this past year, really 2 years. So, we'll see for Ernest, pulling for him. But our defense was the number one in the league last year, and our inside linebackers were the least productive in all of it. And that might be scheme. I don't know. And we'll also see new scheme coming in, new defensive coordinator. I was pretty happy with Bobby Brown. I didn't know much about him until after he'd gotten drafted, and then I saw a lot of people saying this was a really good pickup, even in a class that was pretty weak in interior defensive linemen. This guy might have gotten kind of overlooked because he just played on a really solid defense, and then he really gets to fill Michael Brocker's spot, so he doesn't have to be the star. He just has to be solid. And then went and got a cornerback. We needed that. We lost a lot of help in the secondary to free agency. John Johnson and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. But anyways, once again, really only know Rochelle from highlights post-draft. Seems like he could be solid. And also we basically have not missed since Les Snead and Sean McVay has been there. Like, our defensive backs, even 4th, 5th, and 6th rounders, give us at least 1 or 2 good years of really solid production. I mean, we're pretty consistently excellent at defensive back talent. We draft well at that spot. And then Jacob Harris out of UCF, I thought that was a really good pick. I mean, he's kind of an excellent blend of athleticism. He's big. He's, I think, somewhat of a tight end, but kind of a do-it-all, Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades. But yeah, no, I had no problems with the Rams draft. I was pretty happy overall.
I really love the Bobby Brown pick in the 4th round. That was actually one of the few players, as we got later into the draft, that I did know. SEC guy, watching him. So yeah, it fills the Brocker role for you, who awkwardly goes to Detroit now. So yeah, you're right. He doesn't have to be any kind of the star. He just has to absorb a blocker. I think that I don't know if steal is necessarily what you would call it, because that it was a weak defensive tackle class, and for whatever reason that seemed to push all the guys back. There were guys being taken in the 7th round that the professionals were talking like, man, I thought he would go 2nd day, late day 2 type stuff. So I don't know what it is about the small class, the not very good class that just pushed a lot of these guys back. But yeah, I think Bobby Brown was my favorite pick for you guys. The Jacob Harris pick, I just know Jacob Harris because of what he did at his pro day. What I just read right here is he averaged like 1.64 yards per route run, which means whatever. But 41-inch vertical, 4.39 40. Athletic freak. So there's no telling what that could turn into for y'all. Because I think you drafted him as a receiver, but I think they listed him as a tight end, so he can line up wherever. So that brings you size, where you just got your crazy fast guy who. I think that 5'9", it said 5'9" on this screen. I'm pretty sure that is generous. I've seen
him listed at 5'7".
Yeah, 5'7" is what I was going to say. So, and again, I'm not size biased by any means, but I don't hate your draft at all. I think you probably needed some offensive line help, but again, I'm all about value when it comes to this stuff. So you take the best available, and if these guys were filling needs and the best available that you saw, then more power to you. Snead, Wardam.
I 100% agree with you on the offensive line. That's why if I rated the Rams overall, even though I am overall happy with the draft, a lot of there's nobody that I saw, looked at, and researched that I was like, man, that was a terrible pick. Everybody feels like that could be a guy, or at least a solid, have himself 8, 9, 10 years in the league, even if he's not a star, which is a solid draft. I mean, a solid career. If you can do 3 or 4 years in the NFL, if you can make a team, you're a hell of a player. And all of these guys have a shot at making it. But yeah, kind of a bummer. There was no solidifying the offensive line. Definitely could use some help there, especially with Whitworth. I mean, I think he's the oldest offensive lineman playing right now at our left tackle at 38 or 39. Definitely not getting any younger. And then, we shift around a lot. Don't have a ton of depth there anyways. But all in all, I would give it 6.5, a 7.
Are you sure you just don't like this 2-2 pick because you two are kind of similar when it comes height wise?
Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. It factors in. I'm
It's
pretty
like
excited to see this.
A kindred spirit there.
Yes. I mean, when his weight is listed at pretty much my weight and his height, I mean, granted, he has a few inches on me. Yeah, I'm excited.
No, he looks pretty good. I just like messing with you. All right. So let's get to the Falcons.
Let's get to the Falcons because as far as the questionable picks, pretty much everybody knew that San Fran was going to go quarterback. I mean, pick 1, Trevor Lawrence. Pick 2, Zach Wilson. Those were, for all intents and purposes, written in stone before the draft began. Mm-hmm. And then pick 3, it was 95% sure that the Niners were going to go a quarterback. It was just all about which quarterback. And then the draft really began with you guys at number 4, the Falcons. Could go literally anywhere, any position almost. The Falcons could have gone, and it not been a crazy head scratcher, other than maybe running back.
Yeah, I was pretty sure they were going Kyle Pitts because later on I looked at the team Twitter and they actually put it out there like one of those like, hey, what about Kyle Pitts first round kind of things. So I was like, yeah, they're possibly leaning that way, and a lot of sources had said they were leaning towards Kyle Pitts. And they pretty much knew they could get him because, like you said, they knew the first 3 rounds were going to be quarterbacks. So I do love that Kyle Pitts pick, though. I think Kyle Pitts was the best player in the draft. Nothing against Trevor Lawrence, but I think he was the best. I think having him, if Julio stays and doesn't get traded, now there's been a lot of rumors about the Julio trade.
It'll break my heart.
Yeah, me too. Because you'd have the Pitts, Julio, Calvin Ridley. I mean, with you got to have your best two corners on Calvin Ridley and Julio. So you got a mismatch nightmare with Kyle Pitts there. And he seems like a guy that can get on the field fairly quickly. I mean,
he'll be out there day one, snap one.
Yeah, he's a day one starter. I've told Lance Tana this as the draft was building up. I don't know, just the more I heard about Kyle. I mean, I watched Kyle Pitts. I mean, he was a superstar in the collegiate conference that we watched the most, and then his pro day was just absolutely insane. And the thing even more insane than how insane his pro day was, it didn't shock anybody. Everybody was like, "Man, those are crazy numbers," but we kind of expected it.
Yeah,
that's what kind of an athlete this guy is. Just the more I think about him, the more I'm thinking, I mean, I know that Hall of Fame is an incredibly niche and elite and special place, and it's really almost impossible to tell who's going to be able to get there, but he might be, out of this draft, my guy that I would say I think he's got the best shot.
I think so too. My only kind of thing is he is kind of injury prone. He had a lot of injuries last year, missed a couple games. So that would be my only kind of I don't know. But hopefully they'll get him in there and get him on that NFL workout and all that and beef him up even more, because it seems like that's what they do. I mean, look at Derrick Henry. Yeah, you thought he was the biggest guy in college, and then he got to the NFL, and it was just like he ballooned up. So I think once they get him on that, maybe he'll be a little better as far as injury-wise. This second pick, I don't know much about Richie Grant. I just know that we needed a safety, especially defensive back. I'm not sure if who was it? Was it Keanu Neal? Is he's coming back or not? I know he's been really injury prone as well. So third round, having a safety in there, or second round, I liked it. Their defense always could use some help.
When I saw Grant in a bunch of mock drafts going in the first round, so take that for what you will. But I think it's great value to get him in the day two like that. I would have taken him. So
yeah.
The only knock on Grant that I've seen is that he's a little bit undersized. I mean, I think he is less than 200 pounds playing safety in the NFL. That's a little rare. I mean, not crazy, but I mean, it's just there's so many safeties that are built like linebackers these days.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he's 197. I mean, they're going to put weight on him.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would be as big an issue. But I do like the fact that he doesn't play with gloves. I did
like Santana was saying, I'd seen him going in the first round, so to get him in the second round, I think always good to see a borderline first round talent in the second round. That seems like good value.
Well, then the Falcons defense hasn't been known to be the greatest, especially the past couple of years.
You keep missing on these defensive picks too. Like you keep having guys in the first round and second round that you should expect to be starters for a long time. And I mean, I think you've had like 4 different guys that were high round picks recently move on to different teams because you didn't want them anymore.
With damn Falcons. I mean, they did choke in that Super Bowl pretty hard.
I think that we all can say damn our teams in this stream. Commiserate.
Well, we've all very recently been to Super Bowls.
But also
Shut up, Kenyatta.
The third round with an offensive tackle, they definitely needed offensive line help. I would have liked to have seen a center here, but if Jalen Mayfield was the best that they had, or the best that was on the board, then it was good that they went with him. Like I said, I would have rather seen a center, considering Alex Mack is heading on. But if it was the best guy on the board, I'm glad they got him. And then again, 4th round defensive back. They just need defensive players. And they did take their center in the 4th round as a guy from Stanford. He is a little smaller than I would like. I mean, he's 299. Of course, they'll bulk him up. Other than that, I don't know much about the rest of these guys. With mainly defensive guys and then a wide receiver. If y'all know anything about these guys, I don't.
All I know about Frank Darby is a pick that I'm excited about, and all I know about him is what I listened to the guys say when he got drafted, which was talking about when they were watching Brandon Ayuk tape for the year before. He was showing up then. Like, so you're trying to watch Brandon Ayuk, and this guy's on the field. He's the more speedier of the two. Deep threat. I think he's going to fill a role in that Arthur Smith offense very well for you, and you got it in the 6th round. So I think that was a really good pick.
All right. I'm actually kind of excited about that one now.
Yeah, look up some highlights, man. He looked like he was a lot of fun. And again, I really don't know much about it other than what I was listening to them say and then watching the highlights. And you can get hyped up on anybody watching the draft. So.
Yeah, that's just true. Except for the first night. We got to talk about that. They've got to condense this shit. I mean,
they tried to get
4 hours. 4 hours on a Thursday night. On a work night.
They tried to get all that they missed out by being able to do last year in the same draft.
Like, I guess so. I mean, that's a lot of ad money that they needed to make up.
Well,
but they damn well did it.
There's all those rumors, especially so 10-minute clock in the 1st round, and everybody knew the first 2 picks. Everybody knew that was going to be Trevor Lawrence to the Jags and Zach Wilson to the Jets. I mean, sure, they could have done something crazy, whatever, but they didn't. They did exactly what we all knew both of those teams were going to do, and they took that down to like the 1-minute mark for both of those picks. And then it comes out that the NFL was encouraging or persuading teams to take all of your time. We need to stretch this out, which I think is actually hurting ad revenue because, after like the highlight picks are made, it's like, well, I don't care to watch anymore now. Like I'll read about it tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't. I watched every second.
I was gonna say I watched the
so those bastards got me.
I watched the first 13 picks and was like, I'm done. I got to work tomorrow. I can't stay up all night watching this draft on a Thursday night.
Yeah, I was late. I'm pretty sure.
I was also late.
Exactly. So they have got to condense that. That is just it's totally asinine to have a 4-hour first round. I would understand maybe if it was the first 2 rounds, but 32 picks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's my. I ranted a lot about that on the draft night. That's why we only made it through like 10 picks because I was like, I've got to go to bed.
Well, which once again, I feel like the casual fan, they tune out after that.
Well, I mean, my name is Normie, and especially with NFL football, I mean, I'm sure people who listen could tell I'm not as knowledgeable with NFL football as you two are. But so for me, I mean, yeah, I'm a Falcons fan, but I'm an Alabama fan. I'm a college football fan. So for somebody like me, I'm not going to stay up and watch that.
Yeah, I definitely think that they could trim the fat and make it a more consumable product for everybody, even if you're more like you that consumes the NFL at a more casual, normal level. I thought it was excessive, but I like Santana was saying, it's like they tried to cram all of the makeup from last draft into this one thing. Like, well, that's cool, and I appreciate the pageantry and all, but also let's get a move on.
Let's get some picks done. Hopefully they'll fix that next year, because we are planning on next year doing. We're going to someone's house and we'll all be there filming it. It'll look like a Crowder show. All of us sitting on the couch watching the draft. So get ready for it.
It's going to be complete chaos on the mics. Just warn all viewers that I would keep any children away from that broadcast.
Well, they got a year to prepare, so they'll be good.
So
Of course, that might not be enough time for us to prepare it, but
Santana and I don't have to worry about high emotions for the next 10 years, basically.
Normie, you'll probably be picking in the top 5 again, but we don't have a first round pick for the next 15 years combined.
Yeah.
And then hopefully next year we'll be picking very late in the second round also.
All right.
One can hope. All right. Well, let's go alphabetically here, and we'll start with Arizona. What do y'all guys think on Arizona?
My first bite at this apple is I thought Arizona did a phenomenal job. I think number 1 pick, Zaven Collins. I think he's pretty excellent. A little bit underrated, maybe, as a pick overall, first round. But he was the heart and soul of that Tulsa defense. And that Tulsa defense was really, really good. Competed at a level above where Tulsa generally is because of, him. And then there was a couple more really talented guys on that team. But the splash pick for me is Rondale Moore. I don't think they could have done any better. I just, the fact that I just knew whoever was going to get this cat was getting a dude. I'm in love with Rondale Moore. I know his production fell off this year, but he's also experienced some injuries. When he's playing, he's as electric as anybody on the field. And you get to pair that with DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk, and we'll see if Larry Fitzgerald, hopefully, because I don't ever want to see him stop playing football. I love him so much. But and then you've already got other weapons there as well. But in Rondale Moore,
AJ Green.
They also have AJ Green, yeah. But Rondale Moore can fit into the scheme still, even with that crowded room, because he's not just a wide receiver. He's a return man. He's a running back. He's an H-back. He's everything. He's powerful. He's fast. And, yeah, he might be 5'7", but he's 5'7" of, nothing but muscle. Their draft is impressive to me with him and him alone. And they also did really well around him, in my opinion.
Green Bay Packers take notes. Was Rondale Moore a big need right there? No, he wasn't a big need right there. But you take an explosive guy in the second round to help your young quarterback continue to develop. He's got weapons all over the field. You just lost Kenyon Drake, so you're replacing you're just adding talent around him. Like you said, Kenyatta Rondale Moore can run the football. He can catch the football out of the backfield. Return man. He can play inside, outside. It doesn't matter. I think it was a fantastic pick. That wasn't really a big need for them. But unlike some people out there who are about to lose Hall of Fame quarterbacks, you decided I'm going to give this kid weapons. And he's got, you know how I feel about Kyler Murray. I love that kid, and I am so excited. And even without Rondale Moore, he would continue to progress. Shockingly, because I had no idea that Cliff Kingsbury was good at this coaching thing.
Nobody saw that coming.
Well, great offensive guy, and I thought that had he stayed at USC, then USC's offense was going to take a huge jump, which they did with Graham Harrell, but that's for another conversation.
True.
So yeah, I'm just really excited about the Rondale Moore pick for Kyler specifically, and yeah, I don't want to see Larry go anywhere either. But if he does, he does. But it would be great to have somebody like AJ Green and Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins for all these young guys that are running around in Arizona to learn from. I think it's a fantastic pick. And then the Zaven Collins, I didn't know much about when they took him, but I've seen a bunch of people say that another pick, not really for need, more just taking the best player off the board. And I think that a lot of teams, it depends on your specific strategy, but I think that a lot of teams really benefit from just taking best player off the board. Baltimore has made a killing doing that. Baltimore's always in the conversation, no matter who's coaching or who's playing quarterback. because they're always just taking the best players. Now, when Ozzie was there, it was mostly because they were taking Alabama guys, but that has still continued. But yeah, I like the Arizona's pick. I really don't know much. The cornerback from UCF in the 6th. I know that UCF has talent all over the place, and all of their secondary guys this year were projected in the top 5 rounds. So to get them in 6th, it's nicely done. Added some edge help. Don't really know much about the guy from Duke, but I think Arizona did a great job. Again, I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that I go through here and look at that I'm not thrilled with. Like, I think that a lot of people did a really good job.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that earlier on in the cast here. Just I feel like most teams did a really good job. I've just got a few notes on teams that I'm like, well, I think that was average to maybe below average. But just a quick side note before we move on from them, I'm just kind of wondering if Kyler Murray had any input on this pick. Like, well, what do you want? He's like, well, I've got all the weapons. I'm not worried about the weapons. I want somebody who's, like shorter than me.
Tired of looking up at everybody when I'm talking to them.
It's embarrassing.
So every time we break the huddle, I'm fucking ass.
Yeah. I don't even have to kneel in the huddle. Oh, man. All right. Well, you were talking about Baltimore. They are up next. So what did y'all think about the Baltimore?
I really thought that they did take an edge with their second pick with formerly Jason Owe. Taking Rashad Bateman first is great. I think that obviously, again, Packers, you give your young quarterbacks or your superstar quarterbacks some help, and they don't want to leave you at their 39th year in this league or whatever. But they also just traded away Orlando Brown, so I was surprised that they didn't address tackle at any point in the draft. Yeah. But you take Tylan Wallace late in the 4th, and he was a high caliber receiver. So you, again, adding weapons. Shaun Wade at Ohio State at one point in time was looked at as possibly a first-round cornerback. He didn't play that way over the last couple of years, but will probably end up being able to line up in the slot for them. Obviously, they're not hurting at defensive back anyways.
Yeah.
And then Ben Cleveland out of Georgia. That's actually an offensive lineman that I'm aware of without having looked him up before. That's just a guy that you know by watching. So, no, again, another good draft, I thought.
I had a couple of stars by Baltimore because I agree, missing or not missing, but like not really reaching to go or to replace Orlando Brown. I thought it was a little bit curious, but otherwise, I thought that they did an excellent job. Rashad Bateman out of Wisconsin, Minnesota. Sorry. It's one of those.
It's out there. Things. They're the same. They're the same.
Badger, gopher, it's rodent, whatever.
It's all the same outside the South.
No, he's an excellent route runner. He's physical. I mean, and what Lamar Jackson needs is weapons. I mean, Hollywood Brown, I think, is a really, really good piece, but I don't think he's a true number one. So I thought Bateman was really, really good pick. And then I thought Tylan Wallace in the 4th round was a steal because he was nothing but productive at Oklahoma State. I don't actually, looking at him, once again, he's one of those post-draft guys where everybody's like, I thought he would go a little bit higher. And then the more I looked at it, I'm curious as to why people weren't looking at him more earlier. I don't know. I mean, maybe physically he didn't jump off the page in tape or whatever, but Away in the 2nd round, that's one of those guys a lot of people had as first-round talent. And maybe not a position of need, but Baltimore, I mean, they don't miss on drafts very often. They just top to bottom do a really good job. And then, Ben Cleveland is, he's not a tackle, but like Santana was saying, he's an offensive lineman whose name I know pre-draft. Like he's He's just a really good, solid offensive lineman, probably a 5-star coming out of high school. And I haven't heard any holes in his games. He's not a bust or a reach collegiately, so it's a good chance to transfer to the pros. I thought Baltimore did a really good job.
Did they end up signing Villanueva?
Yes,
I know that he was
I think they
visiting.
did.
Okay, so they had a plan the whole time. They said, "Shut up, Santana. You don't know anything. We don't need a draft a tackle. We're going to sign him."
I was just about to say that. Whatever. I finally have something to contribute. Thanks, Lance Santana.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
No, yeah, I was about to say they just signed him. I'm pretty sure today. That is one thing I did see, and that, like you said, that sure's that end up.
They had a plan. I mean,
and that you get somebody with actual experience, not just somebody fresh out of college.
Yeah,
he's getting long in the tooth, but he's been one of the better tackles in the league, protecting Big Ben's blind spots. So yeah, it's also very interesting to me that so many of these great players go interdivision the way they do. Speaking of that, we may get Richard Sherman back. I saw today.
Yeah, I saw that too. So talking about DB help, and these teams have plans, man.
They don't need us. They don't need us.
They did draft a fullback. I mean, you don't see that very often anymore. I thought that was an extinct position in the NFL.
Look, the Baltimore offense and that whole structure runs a little bit archaically with Lamar Jackson right now, but it's effective. I mean, they're still one of the top AFC teams. I mean, between them, the Chiefs, and the Bills, I don't expect that to shake up very much next year. I mean, just my post-draft rankings, I would say still Chiefs number 1, probably Bills number 2, and the Ravens a very close number 3, and wouldn't surprise me one little bit if any one of those 3 teams are your Super Bowl representation from that conference.
I still might take Cleveland where Cleveland's at right now over Baltimore.
I've got quadruple stars for Cleveland's draft. That team just keeps on finding talent somehow, but I'll be patient.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
That might be a part 2. We will be coming back. This is only part 1. We'll probably do part 2 next week, but that may be in the part 2 one because I do want to save some time for something that Santana has mentioned briefly. So we'll go with the Bills. What did y'all think about the Bills?
See, for me personally, is one that I've got. I thought it was a good draft. I mean, nothing special. I thought that Russo from Miami, their number 1 pick, a lot of people had Jalen Phillips and him and Kwity Paye as kind of like all in the same neighborhood, and then Kwity Paye and Phillips kind of pulled ahead as far as your edge players as everything went on. In fact, it was Kwity Paye, and then Phillips, started to really make jumps. I think it's a position of need, and he seems to be really good physically. He's got all the tools, all the gifts. But then after that, I thought it was fine. I thought it was good, not great. But the Bills are also pretty solid, so I don't know what all they need.
I actually do know they needed a running back.
Well,
at least in the second round, something. That is the one thing that is glaring from last season to this year. Like, you need a running back. You in the championship game, it showed why you need a running back.
Yeah, I do have that noted down that Josh Allen needs help running the ball because he should not be your team's leading rusher in multiple games. But I don't know. I don't know if they're really buying into Zach Moss, some of the other stuff they've done at running back. But yeah, to pretty much ignore that was a little bit surprising.
Well, they go edge the first 2 picks in their draft, and that only tells me that you're preparing to see Patrick Mahomes more often than not. I don't really know how desperate they were for help there, but you address it with the first 2 picks. After taking a running back in the second round the last 2 years, I wonder if you're just – because to be fair to Singletary and Moss, neither one of them were healthy at all last year. So I know fantasy wise that they were not healthy at all last year.
I just know
so-
from doing from doing this show and doing the playoff recaps, and it was like every week it was like, yeah, they're one dimensional. They're one dimensional. They don't have a run game that's going to catch up to them, and
right. And
it eventually did.
I completely agree with you. I think that they do need some answer. I just wonder if you're thinking at this point in time, because you definitely beef up the offensive line with your next 2 picks after your edge rushers.
Yep.
You go 2 tackles. The wrong Spencer Brown. I was definitely looking for UAB's running back to go off the board, and he never did. But
speaking of running backs, maybe
oh yeah, there you go. Which I'm sure he's on a team somewhere right now, and maybe Buffalo.
Well, and speaking of people that didn't get drafted, Dylan Moses, not drafted.
Yeah, he tumbled.
Yeah.
Which is so wild because if he goes out last year, even with the knee injury, he probably hit somewhere in the late first, early second.
Yep.
And he comes back and plays. And I mean, Normie, what was it this year? Was he just clearly not healthy, or was it very obvious to you that he was a problem? Because
I will say this, it may be kind of an attitude thing, because after the Ole Miss game, when the defense got their teeth knocked in, and had it not been for our offense who could, just go down and score at will, we would have lost that game. But after that game, he claimed that Ole Miss was still in signals. I watched that Ole Miss game. I don't know, unless they stole signals on him missing tackles or not, because he missed about a dozen. After that game, and after him coming out saying that, I was not a Dylan Moses fan. Had he come out and just said, "Hey, we just played bad. We had a bunch of missed tackles," which they did, and that's why they made Ole Miss look so damn good.
Hey, to be fair, that offense was sick. They were good all year.
Hotty toddy, Kenyatta.
Yeah. Speaking of someone drinking too many hotty toddies. But it may be something like that. I just don't know. Now, after that, he did kind of get his shit together, and he did play better. But I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Just the attitude of, hey, he goes out there and plays shitty, then he's going to blame it on something else. I don't know.
I mean, obviously, none of us do, but it was shocking. I thought for sure this year, I mean, at least I didn't think first or second round, but I thought maybe mid-third, early fourth that we'd see him off the board, and he just kept falling and falling and falling.
Yeah, I was really hoping that he would dress up in the bone and blue. I would have been psyched to have him.
We were talking about you coming out of the closet earlier.
Hey, I didn't pick the name of the color. Apparently, our white is bone.
All right. Well, we've been going about 53 minutes. We'll talk about the rest of the draft in our part 2, or at least some of the next draft of the part 2. I actually do want to get into some of this Aaron Rodgers stuff. I know, Santana, you have kind of mentioned it. So what is your thoughts on this Aaron Rodgers stuff? Because, I mean, he dropped that right before the draft, and they actually, I did hear that the NFL might have told Green Bay, don't say shit about anything with Aaron Rodgers because it will overshadow the draft. But it still kind of overshadowed the draft
a little bit. Well, I was amped Thursday, looking real forward to getting here and winging up and beering up. And I mean, the draft is my second or third favorite sports day of the year, so I was really excited. Got an update on my phone as I'm at work, just bebopping around, and look down, and it's John Lynch called the Green Bay Packers Wednesday night about Aaron Rodgers. I stopped what I was doing and I texted Kenyatta. I said, "Hey, what the fuck?" Because we made all these moves to get up to the third pick, and now we're trying to trade for Aaron Rodgers. What the hell is going on? Free my man, free that guy. Yeah, I think that that was all by design on his part. All eyes on the NFL, and yeah, I'm unhappy, as I think that he should be. They hadn't helped him. They traded up for Jordan Love last year and then did not take a single receiver in that draft. And then all that
in a
comes
draft
out.
heavy, receiver heavy draft.
The last 2 or 3 drafts have been full of receivers. You can take a receiver in the 7th round and find very adequate production, and they didn't anything. They took Dillon out of Boston College in the 2nd round when you already had 2 really great running backs. Now that's going to work out because I think they're losing Jamal Williams this year. But either way, you add to the running back, which is great. I mean, his offensive line has been fine. He's had a running game. He's got Devontae Adams, which is arguably the best receiver in the league right now. But give him some more toys to play with. This guy, at one point in time in his career, he had Donald Driver and Greg Jennings and Randall Cobb and all these like weapons out on the
Jordy
outside.
Nelson.
Oh my God, Jordy Nelson. Yes, like he had so many guys out there for so long and won a Super Bowl during that time. And then he's been throwing to nobodies other than Devontae. And I mean, last year was his best year, and I think it's because he's pissed off. And I think that he'll probably have that year this year, regardless where he plays. Joel Klatt said on the roundtable the other day that he had a source that he trusts that said that a deal with Denver was basically done, which is why when Denver didn't take a quarterback, everybody's kind of like, okay, and that he's on their list. So now, obviously, nothing has come of that yet. But no, I don't know if it'll be Denver. It would have been nice to have him in San Francisco. I would have loved that. But yeah, I don't know where he's going to go. But no, I'm on Aaron Rodgers' side here. He's not the most likable guy, but he deserves respect as one of the best playing. So,
well, the fact that he has no say in his room. I mean, quarterbacks of that caliber always have a say, and he gets contacted none. His opinion has mattered not whatsoever pretty much since he's been in Green Bay. He has had issues with his input on the draft and the talent the team is getting.
Coaching hires.
Yeah, coaching hire since day one. Since day one, they treat him like an employee where he really should be upper management. I mean, yeah. Do you give him final say? No. I mean, you're still the one cutting the checks, whatever. But and I don't know. I don't know what it is about that, or if that's been an ongoing thing. I'd have to go back to Brett Favre years to see if that's how they've always done stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. I mean, give that man some respect.
Well, and they didn't help themselves or can't be helped by watching Tom Brady. Tampa's like, Tom, come on down. And he said, okay, sure. I want Gronk. And they're like, okay, well, I mean, he hasn't played in you. I want Gronk. It's like, okay, but I mean, I don't know. He might not be. Just bring him in. It's like, okay, yes, sir. I'll bring him in.
I
also want
Brown.
Antonio Brown. Like, doesn't he have some off the field stuff that we should be worried about? Bring in Antonio Brown. It's like, but
they gave him so much pushback on the Antonio Brown. It's like, look, I don't care about the off the field stuff. I know what he does on the field, and I've been around and I've seen what he does, like his work ethic and this, that, and the other. Like the 2 weeks that he got to play in New England, and they're like, I just feel like it's too much off the field stuff. It's like, well, I feel like I have 7 rings, well, 6 at the time, that say, shut the fuck up and listen to me. So yeah, and I think Aaron Rodgers is the only reason what I would say that he's not the most physically gifted, overall talented quarterback that I've ever watched play in the league is because Patrick Mahomes is an absolute freak of nature. And even then, 1A and 1B. I mean, Tom Brady's the GOAT, but I think that is so much more off the field. I don't think it's – I mean, now, don't get me wrong, anybody watching, he produces in spades on the field. But I think so much of Tom Brady is what he brings to the entire organization, the winning attitude, that like win at all costs type mentality, just a grinder. I mean, he's a leader. He's a leader. But physically gifted quarterbacks that can do everything, legs and arm, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes are the greatest I've ever seen do it.
And Jeff Garcia.
Well, I don't even know why you would do that.
If I were naming my top, like, most physically gifted quarterbacks, Patty number 1, Aaron number 2, but then like just off Aaron's heels, Jeff Garcia.
There's so many people watching who are going to have to go. I say so many people watching.
I was going to say there's someone on the
Jeff Garcia. But,
who the hell is Jeff Garcia?
He's only one of the greatest leaders and competitors to ever grace the football field.
Sean, he played for the 49ers for some years, and I believe he has a Canadian Football League Grey Cup to his name.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say as far as that Denver thing goes, I believe that Denver skyrocketed from like 28 or 29 in odds to win the Super Bowl these past 2 days to number 3 or number 4.
Let me tell you something about Vegas, my friend. Let me tell you something about Vegas. They said it's going to be Mac Jones, and then they said it's going to be Justin Fields. And then right there before the draft happened, they said, it's Trey Lance. I went, I don't know, man. I'm still kind of feeling like something weird is going to be Justin Fields. And Vegas said, you're an idiot. It's Trey Lance. And then Shanahan said, yeah, no, it's Trey Lance. I told Vegas before I told anybody else.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, it would not surprise me. And especially, and Joel Klatt, say what you will about him. He's not one to report just out of his ass. So if he says he's got a source that he trusts, I imagine he's got a source and then what he said about that was that they were keeping it. It didn't go down on draft night because they didn't want it to overshadow the first round. So, we'll see. I don't know when that trade would happen, and I don't know exactly what. See, in them they took Surtain, right?
Yes.
So they take Surtain, and Green Bay takes not even the higher rated corner out of Georgia with their first pick.
Yep.
So, is Surtain going to be a part of this trade if it goes down? Then giving the lesser corner, you kind of, I don't know. That's probably conspiracy talk, but it's just a thought.
No, it was pretty weird. I remember watching that and Denver taking Surtain, and then immediately the Cowboys traded out because they wanted Surtain.
Right, and that would have been great to pair with Diggs. We'll get into that in part 2, but because I love the Micah Parsons pick, but I think I want to talk about Detroit's pick too, because I said that things were going to get crazy within 1 through 4, and then what had actually happened was everything went fine 1 through 4, and then 8 or 7 came around, and Detroit dropped a bomb that screwed everybody else going forward.
That's where the draft came off the rails. Well, yeah. The good news is, guys, viewers, everything, we're plenty of content prep for round 2.
Yep.
Because I 100% agree with you there, Santana. That's where the draft just went off the rails.
I've got it listed down as my favorite top 10 pick. Pitts is probably my second, just because I'm excited. As long as Atlanta doesn't trade Julio, because then it takes so much gusto off of that pick. But
it really does. It takes the edge off of it.
Even if they do trade him, which would be understandable, even if they do trade him, you still grabbed a player who is basically the Julio of this class. So you kind of replace in that scenario. Not that that's great or wonderful, and damn near not as exciting, but
also it will break my wife's heart. She loves Julio Jones.
Everybody does, man. Everybody does.
The only football jersey she owns is a Julio Jones Atlanta Falcons jersey.
Well, and talking about the Hall of Fame and what a niche and elite group, it is so hard to get into the Hall of Fame as a wide receiver. And Julio, despite having a litany of injuries, is still on pace to be a Hall of Fame receiver.
A litany of injuries. He's not super consistent as far as drops goes, and he there for a long time could not get into the end zone and still puts up the numbers that he does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really excruciatingly difficult to get into the Hall of Fame as a receiver, especially if you're probably the second best to ever do it and can't get a first ballot Hall of Fame vote. That just tells you how difficult it is.
I was searching for that nerve.
Yeah.
Where we hit that. We hit that vein of gold. We hit it. Well, all right, guys. Part 1 has been fun. We didn't get as far as I figured we would, but I think we did. We did have some good conversations on these teams' draft picks and on Aaron Rodgers. My only question with the Aaron,
why do you have to break this into 3 parts?
Yeah, we might have to. My only question with the Aaron Rodgers thing is, and we don't have to answer it now, we can do a little research. Has Aaron Rodgers ever done the Tom Brady of cutting his paycheck?
That is something I don't. Yeah, we're not going to answer. We're not going to answer.
So, all right,
We'll
we'll
do
do
some
some
We'll talk
research
about it.
on that because I'm trying. I want to be on his side, but that's kind of one of my things. Has he done that route? That's what Tom Brady has always done and been known for.
But in the same vein, has he ever, like, how many times has he been the highest paid player or quarterback in the league? So those are similar questions.
All
We'll
right,
get back to you, folks.
we'll get back to that. That's a good thing to come back to. All right, like I said, it's been fun. We will see y'all next week, Thursday next week again at 8:00. Does that sound good to y'all?
It works for me.
All right.
I shan't commit to anything.
Okay. So Santana pleads the fifth, but more than likely we'll try and get here back Thursday night again at 8:00. I like this kind of time and this time during the week. And plus we don't go 4 hours. So you don't have to worry about that. But Santana, thanks for coming on again. We love
Absolutely.
having you.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, Cunado, fist bump. Glad you're out of the closet and in your room.
Both this was.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Was that the luau? Was that the luau?
yeah.
Take it easy, fellas.